Hi, I'm Gaynor Dickeson, and this is part 1 of painting 3 shallots in watercolour. I'm using the same colours all the time, which is mostly permanent rose, Quinacridone Gold Deep, which is Daniel Smith, Perylene Violet, translucent orange, which is Schmincke, and Maimeri Cyan. To start off with, I am putting in an undercoat where I see most of my shadows, and I'm using the colours that I basically see, which to start off with the Winsor red, and now you can see I've also put in some permanent rose. The shadows are a mix of permanent rose and the cyan, making a sort of purpley colour. Each time I put in a wash, the first time I laid anything at all, I wet the whole area with water, even the areas that I was going to have white. And then I started laying in the colour very gently and softening it with a synthetic brush afterwards so that I don't get any hard lines where I don't want them. At the moment you can see that I'm using the mix of permanent rose and Maimeri Cyan, and I'm doing the deeper shades and also some of the stronger markings, and I'm doing this on all 3 of the shallots so that you can see them in relation to each other. See, on the right hand side I've got a trial sheet of paper which is exactly the same paper as I'm using, and I've just tried out my colours there. So that is Quinacridone Deep, Golden Deep, and it is quite a warm colour, very useful colour. Where I want to make it darker, I might have used either Perylene Violet or the Cyan, depending upon what I want to do. But I'm just building it up little by little, and now I'm using more of a dry brush technique to put in some of the smaller details. In most instances I still soften with a synthetic brush. So there's all sorts of types of brushes that I use for this. In some instances I use a long round, otherwise I've used a flattish cat tongue brush, it's called, and you can get a really nice point on those. So I'm emphasizing the roundness of the onions by also using the lines that is within the crackly skin. See, on the onion on the back there, I did a wash of translucent orange just to warm it up a little bit in relation to the onions that I have in front of me. So now I'm working on the onion in the front. I put in some of the shadow to start off with, as you saw, and as the light is coming from the left, I also want to make sure that I get the shadows in relation to that. On the right there, I just tried out a grey mix that I'd made, all from the same colours, but also can you see the spread effect of my brush? And that's a dry brush technique I use when I want to be very fine lines, as there is on these onions. I don't want the lines to be very pronounced, but I still want them to be there. And through a lot of this, I'm using this spread brush effect. Can you see that there's some very faint lines left with the grey colour that I'm using? Sometimes I use the brush so that I get all of the hair spread, and sometimes I use it at an angle to get maybe a single line, just like I'm using there. All the time it's emphasizing the shapes of the onions. And to the right there, it's obviously more in shadow than it is on the left. Now I'm working a little bit where the thin crackly paper skin of the outer layer of the onion, and now I'm doing the little bit of dried leaves that are hanging over the top. I used again a little bit of translucent orange to make the onion warmer, but not so much in the area that's further away from me, because I want that to show up against the bit that's coming forward. And obviously you can have a real play with that by putting in all the markings of giving the papery, crackly feel of the leaves as they hang over the front there.